Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to our webinar on what's new in SAP Business Objects BI 4.1. I'm Rich Chlebek, and I'll be your presenter today. Here's our agenda on what we'll be covering. I'll talk a little bit about the webinar protocol. I'll do a brief introduction of myself and BICP. Although I did see the attendee list, and I recognize a lot of names on there, so I certainly wanted to make good use of this time. I don't know that I'll be going that much into depth on introductions. We only have a half an hour. One of our primary goals for this webinar is to go ahead and show some of the things that we are coming across when we meet with our clients, some of the primary questions, and covering, what's necessary to upgrade to 4.1, whether they're upgrading from 3.1 or an earlier version of 4. And so that's our primary goal for what we're going to cover today. Obviously, the tool set of SAP Business Objects has grown substantially in the last few years. There's a lot of specific tools, and we'll cover those tools' capabilities and new enhancements in separate webinars. So a little bit about the webinar protocol. So the participants are muted. We do have a fairly large group here, so we definitely want to make sure that we don't have too many interruptions, background noise and such. For any questions that we want to have answered, if you could please submit the questions to @host via the chat window, and time permitting, I'll go ahead and cover those at the end of the presentation. Also, if there are any areas we don't cover but you feel are important to you, feel free to contact Michelle Whaley at BICP for any further follow-up. We could schedule a specific call for you and what you're looking for. This webinar will be recorded, and we'll provide a link out to all the participants after it's completed. So a little bit about myself. I've been a consultant working with business object software for over 17 years, so I've seen a lot of the changes in the tool and all the integration into SAP, as well as, prior to that, Excelsius and Crystal reporting. So a lot of experience in installation and configuration and integration. I'm a member of ASUG's Business Object Strategic Special Interest Group and an advisor to SAP Expert. And as I mentioned earlier, I lead the business object practice at BICP. So BICP is a business intelligence service organization focused specifically on SAP Business Objects and BWs. That's all we do. We're not a subset of a larger consultancy. This is our primary focus. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into some of the features. Let's quickly go over that agenda, the remaining items after introduction. So we're going to talk about what Intelligence Enhancements there are. What we see is, with all our clients and even talking with folks out in the user community of business objects, almost 100% of users, clients are using web intelligence. Dashboards are also very widely used. Seems like every client has that on their radar. They're looking to implement dashboards that currently have them implemented. SAP Business Objects Mobile is also very important to everyone. And we'll talk about platform enhancements, upgrade considerations. You might notice that we don't have things on Lumira or HANA here. Those are important to others. But at this time, we're talking strictly about upgrading 4.0 and the core tools. So some of the enhancements that we've seen on web intelligence, helping developers are, freeze header capabilities, custom palette capabilities, also measure delegation. So this kind of calls to closer integration with BW. Also, one of the features that when the rewrite occurred from 3.1 to 4.1, to 4.0, there were some issues with managing merged objects. In short, it was much easier to do in the prior version, 3.1 and earlier, and there were some limits in the first release of the 4.0 product, and you simply couldn't add in additional objects to a merged dimension. You had to delete and recreate. So that's been much improved. So some usability enhancements for developers as well as for end users now have the ability to fold and unfold in the reading mode in HTML, a little easier in choosing list of values in Formula Editor, whereas that wasn't available before. Also for SDK developers, we do have the capabilities of now using RESTful web services and additional APIs. So this is primarily for defining those consumptions of workflows, data sources, as well as document authoring and scheduling. So what this means is basically this can be tied to a particular development of an application, placed on top of your business objects environment, or link it to other applications, and even perhaps automate some things instead of having 3 or 4 clicks to do scheduling, perhaps tie scheduling to some data source that's more easily updated than going through all the steps of scheduling. That's all within the SDK for Web Intelligence in the Business Objects platform. There are also some user interface customizations that do not require the SDK. So personalization of the Web Intelligence client and customizations for that are done at a group level within the CMC. So these customizations are the UI elements and actions. What I mean by that is what actions users have access to, whether you want to have them see the refresh button or not, whether you'd have them see all their navigation tabs and links or not, things of that nature. So under some dashboard enhancements, the Excelsius dashboard tool now supports offline versions for the Flash component. In essence, what that does is captures the data set at runtime and can be distributed then in an offline manner. So when users are traveling, have that on their desktop and being able to access that. Also dynamic positioning for components, so helping align things for developers without having to drag and drop and adjust it just right. Much like we currently have in Web Intelligence, this concept of dynamic positioning is now also available in dashboards. And some accessibility improvements. So instead of always being forced to use a mouse, you can actually use keyboard controls. So one big gap that was existing in the 4.0 version was the fact that the desktop intelligence tool was not supported. Now, SAP's goal is to phase out desktop intelligence, but this has kind of left users in a quandary that, or clients, I guess, in a quandary that still have a large DESKI user base, and it'll take them more time to convert those users over to Web Intelligence. At the same time, they have a need or a want to begin using 4.0 and do not want to have 2 separate environments. So as of 4.1, Desktop Intelligence Client has the capability of connecting to the 4.1 CMS. And you'll see throughout the tool that means more than just accessing data sources, but it also means storage of those DESKI components and documents, as well as a promotion manager and security all around those documents. So they can be promoted through the BI 4.1 environment, and security does apply to it as well. Keep in mind that the SAP BusinessObjects timelines still are applicable for desktop intelligence. So eventually those do need to be converted over, as the long-term end of life still stands for DESKI. So there are some BusinessObjects 5.0 mobile enhancements as well that are pretty significant. Previously there were two separate apps for Explorer and a separate app for BusinessObjects. So those are now integrated into a single app, and there's some reorganization of how those individual reports and documents are now managed in order to put them in that single app. There is an enhancement to collaboration. There's an SAP Jam collaboration tool that's now available. There's also inbox support and the ability to attach voice while annotating. So up until now, I guess annotation would be you'd be able to draw on a report and save an image of that and email it. Now you could also include a voice note if you'd like. The tighter device integration. So one of the things we're seeing with the proliferation of mobile devices is we see a lot of QR codes available. So the BusinessObjects Mobile 5 version, along with BI 4.1, now includes the ability to use QR codes in order to share a document. So you can generate a QR code, email it to somebody, and they could actually, from their computer screen, snap a picture of that QR code or printed material, and then have that report available on their device, right? And then also we have the ability to take barcode scans to fill in input controls and prompts and search bar. So have the ability to kind of extend the usability of a lot of your BusinessObjects reporting out in the field or out, for individual clients and users to, avoid errors and be able to do scanning through the mobile devices' cameras to get exactly what they need. So some additional platform enhancements. The system configuration wizard applies a simple workflow to accomplish initial screen configuration for this BI system. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in detail, and I have some screen prints. A lot of folks are very interested to see what that might look like. Our upgrade management tool is also enhanced, so it does check for some service dependencies prior to upgrade. There's a simplified process for migrating third-party authentication types. For folks who provide global reporting, there is now right-to-left support for those countries that have languages that are displayed in right-to-left. And those apply to the core tools like Launchpad, Workspaces, Webby, the OLAP version of analysis, BI Mobile, Crystal Reports. So you'll notice these are all the server-based tools primarily, right? And single sign-on for HANA is now available as well. So for our platform enhancements, additionally, there are some additional SAP data sources, right? So closer integration with BW at design time, so in terms of faster performance. There is now the ability to author relational databases over a limited set of BW queries. So this is something that I think a lot of folks are interested in. Up until now, we've been talking about, choosing whether we go to BICS, the BICS connector for better performance, or whether we choose universes which are possible over BW info providers, but then lack calculated figures and some master data. So with this ability, although SAP has a disclaimer on this that it is going to be limited, we kind of have high hopes that we'll have the best of both worlds here. Also better connectivity and access to HANA views and consuming HANA features, including inputs and hierarchies and unit of measures. Similar type of improved access to SAP ERP systems, right? Additional prompts, optional prompts enhance automatic universe generation. So by next item, new agnostic sources, those being, of course, non-SAP sources. We recognize Teradata, Oracle. The Hadoop on Amazon Elastic MapReduce is interesting because it shows SAP is not only looking at big data from a perspective of their own HANA tools, but also the widely used Hadoop databases. I know Amazon and their Elastic MapReduce is probably one of the more popular Hadoop instances, or certainly one of the quickest and easiest ways to get introduced to Hadoop and set up a Hadoop environment. So I think this is, if you're looking at big data and getting applications up quickly, this is a very important new data source connection available to business objects, right? Also, I know it's XML and web services there. I know we had one client that had previously been using Data Federator in the 3.1 version, and the full Data Federator tool allowed consumption of web services, whereas the lighter version of Data Federator within IDT did not. So that's kind of a bit of a throwback. So adding some functionality that was lost in the earlier version of 4.0, it's now been expanded to include that lost functionality. So along the same lines, IDT Data Federation support of federated tables. So that light version of Data Federation within IDT is being expanded. So upgrade considerations is probably one of the more important parts of people who are clients who are not yet up to 4.0 even, or looking for improvements when moving to 4.1. The current version that's available as of today out on the SAP Marketplace is BI 4.1 Service Pack 2. It is available as a full install or an update. So the full install is recommended for anybody who's upgrading from XIR2 Service Pack 2 or XI 3.1 and upgrading to 4.1. So the recommended environment or architecture there is to have a separate server environment. There have been some clients that have attempted to install on the existing 3.1 environment, although this is technically possible. There are probably some CPU constraints and RAM constraints, right? 4.1 platform and 4.0 platform, for that matter, do require additional CPU and RAM for serving the same type of same number of users as in 3.1. So with that type of full installation on separate server environments, we then use the upgrade management tool to upgrade content and move it over to 4.1. If you're currently on 4.0, the recommendation is to do the upgrade in place, and there's several benefits to that. All server configuration is maintained. Clearly, your content is still maintained in the repository. I know in 3.1, oftentimes we'd have the ability to to do several installs of the 3.1 environment and then repoint repositories between the servers. Please keep in mind that's not supported and cannot be done in 4.0 and 4.1. The reason is between those environments, between the 4.0 and the 4.1 version, there's some additional default objects that are added to the metadata information in the repository, and the environment will not work properly if you try to repoint between those dot version differences. So there's also a technically supported scenario of installing 4.1 on a separate server and migrating content from your 4.0 to your 4.1 environment. The upgrade manager does not support doing that migration. It only supports migration from XIR2 and 3.1 up to the 4X environment. So therefore, your only option is to use promotion management. Once again, although this technically works, there's a lot of reasons you do not want to do this, and they're all listed below. And basically, having to recreate much of this authentication, move these or recreate these promotion jobs, users with third-party aliases. This applies to some installations more than others, but keep in mind you would have to recreate this as it's not managed or it's not promoted within the Promotion Manager tool. Okay, so some other upgrade considerations. Server tuning and sizing. So this is very important for all clients using 4.0 and 4.1. The BusinessObjects BI sizing guide has been updated for 4.1. I've had many clients ask me why this is such a big deal versus the earlier versions. Well, the tool suite has grown significantly, right? We have a lot more tools, and a lot more of them have some server component. To best utilize those components, not every client is using every tool, or you don't need it on every server, in other words. So you want to deactivate or disable those applications and server components that are not being used to enable allocating your memory and CPU to those that are being used. It's as simple as that. And even more finitely within the tools that are being used, you may have one tool that requires, has more usage than another. In some environments, dashboards are simply handled by users that are viewing those and are fairly lightweight. And there's a higher need for CPU and RAM for, let's say, analysis or web intelligence or some other tool. So this tuning definitely needs to take place to provide that, that allocation of those resources properly. And the sizing guide does point out how to do this in terms of estimating the usage and at the variety of different tiers of the processes listed on this page. It goes through those individually. So very good tool to go through. At the end of this presentation, I do have a listing of the different URLs where to access the sizing guide and a couple other useful links as well. So one item that's new is the System Configuration Wizard. This is run after an install or an upgrade. It does not replace the sizing analysis. You still need to do that, but what it does is it provides a user interface to complete a generic or a basic tuning effort, right? So there are deployment templates that are included. They're broken down by, extra small, small, medium, large, extra large. They are just templates. These are the only options within that. I have some screen prints I'll walk through to show you, what that tool looks like. I still think if you have a user environment or environment with, let's say, over 200 users, you probably want to seriously look at doing some further refinement within the CMC and doing that sizing analysis and specifically tuning to your needs. Okay. So the first screen on the system configuration wizard does refer to the administrator's guide. Basically, then choose your products, what products you're using. Once again, when you're done, it'll disable the services for the products you're not using. For those of you who are not that familiar with CMC or the server processes in the background, you have to be very careful in terms of what you're shutting off. There are many services referred to as crystal reports services that in fact span over to support other tools. This back-end server architecture was originally designed by Crystal Reports prior to BusinessObjects acquiring it, and then BusinessObjects tools were added to them, integrated with that back-end infrastructure, and enhanced over the years. But many of the legacy naming is still exists there. So definitely need to be careful. You cannot disable individual services within CMC just based on naming. But through this interface, or the user interface, after you choose the tools that you in fact will be deploying, you then have the opportunity to choose your capacity based on the different sizes that I pointed out earlier. There is a link to that deployment template right at the top. It's available at the top of the screen, which will give you kind of a more detailed breakout of what SAP engineers mean by those different sizes. I'll jump to that screen quick. In other words, it talks about how much memory will be allocated. It has detail of what the individual APSs or adaptive processing servers will be defined. So it gives you a little definition of what they mean by those different templates. Then you'll also have to choose your RAM that you have available per node. So in other words, having done the sizing exercise, you'll have determined what your hardware needs are, and now you're inputting what hardware you have and what tools you have, and this user interface then will make those adjustments within the CMC for those specific services. There's a review available, and when it's completed, it actually gives you a bit of a report back and the ability to save a log as well. So it looks like we're finishing up right on time. It's right about half past the hour. I do have a couple of questions that I've gotten from the audience. Let me just jump to a couple of the appendix I have before I field those questions. So the products that are listed are, the reason I list this is really to give a kind of a general idea of what's being delivered with the BI 4.1 platform and what other clients are supported. So we talked a little bit about Lumira, Crystal Reports, the BI Mobile, as well as now Desktop Intelligence. So some online resources, BI, so these all begin SAP.com, BI Learning. They have a section specifically on upgrading. I've talked quite a bit on BI sizing. This is a critical component of moving up to an NE4 environment. And then there's also the link on the roadmap that SAP has. Here's my contact information as well. Through the emails that you've gotten in joining into this webinar, you'll also have access to Michelle Whaley's email. Feel free to contact her or myself and any additional questions you have. But I'll go through a couple of the questions that I did get via chat. So I have a question on, will Upgrade Manager convert Webby 3.1 reports to 4.1? So by upgrading, and I remember having a lot of discussions on these when we had the initial release of 4.0, and so as I mentioned earlier, Upgrade Manager is only for upgrading from a XIR2 or a 3.1 instance up to either the 4.1 or the 4.0 environment. So it does not, number one, it does not handle going from 4.0 to 4.1. When content is moved like a Webby report from a 3.1 environment to 4.0 environment, the Upgrade Manager will bring over the report, but it will maintain its same structure tied to the same .unv or pre-4.0 universe environment. So you will, of course, be able to open it within Web Intelligence. So the answer is it'll convert to a 4.1 Webby environment, but it does not convert to the new UNX format. There is a separate step involved in that, in which you'd have to open IDT and convert the universe. That's normally not that significant of a task, assuming it's not an overly complex universe. One of the things to look out with that universe conversion is universe prompts are defined differently between the old Universe Designer tool and the IDT tool. The functionality is the same, but in IDT it's a bit more robust and there are more steps involved. Therefore, there's a conversion process there, and sometimes that conversion process is not complete. So those prompts would need to be reviewed if you have a lot of prompts in your universes. The second and probably the most important step in universe conversion is that when that universe conversion is done, it is now a second file and a second universe new format, which is a .unx format, and all your old reports will still be pointing to the pre-4.0 .unv format. What that means is if you have 100 web reports, they will need to be manually opened and repointed to the new .unx format. Most instances we've seen there's no need to convert to the .unx. You can continue to maintain your .unv within the 4 environment. The Universe Designer is still available, and you could start new development using IDT and a new .unx universe format. So if you don't have a need for any capabilities within IDT or any capabilities that the .unx format provides you, you could continue to maintain your 3.1 Webby reports and universes in the 4.1 environment. And there's nothing wrong with that, except for the fact that, once again, you won't be able to utilize any new capabilities available in UNX. I think I'll have time for a couple more questions. We'll take about another 5 minutes, I'd say, and then we'll wrap it up. I know everybody's time is valuable. Next question I have, are there new improvements to Design Studio in 4.1? So Design Studio is a new dashboarding tool. Let me click back to the platform products. So Design Studio is at a different version release. It's a fairly new tool. The 1.2 version was just released. On the screen you'll see it listed, it's third from the bottom, as BI clients listed or supported by BI 4.1. So it's a designer tool. The output is HTML5, can be viewed within the BI Launchpad, meaning a browser, or also over a mobile device. Being that it's HTML5, as output, it can be viewed easily on iOS as well as Android devices on the mobile versions. But it's not in sync with the releases of 4.1, so it has its separate own release schedule, and it is really a separate client tool. Being that it was so new and released last year, in fact, the new version has some significant improvements. We'll probably want to have a separate demo on that, and probably do it more of a demo rather than a listing of features, so audience could go ahead and see it. I think the key improvement here is that it now does support universes as a data source. I know that's something that wasn't available until this 1.2 release, which I believe came out in November of 2013. So that's probably the key improvement. But the last thing I'll say on Design Studio is that, in fact, there are some additional design improvements in terms of capabilities, like charting capabilities. SAP's roadmap is to eventually merge the Excelsius dashboard tool into Design Studio. So their path forward is to encourage the use of Design Studio, knowing that all your legacy dashboards will be eventually incorporated in it. And the recommendation is to begin using Design Studio for dashboard development. Okay, last question. Does Mobile 5.0 require a Mobile 5.0 server? This is not, so the 5.0 versioning refers to the mobile application itself, so what you'll be downloading to your Android or iOS device. I know there's still some BlackBerry support there, and although I haven't seen it, I was told that the engineers are working towards a Windows supported version as well for a specific app. Although I have seen both types of dashboards, meaning the Excelsius dashboards and Design Studio dashboards on the Windows tablets running Windows 8, and they look they look fine and function properly. So back to the question, does it require a 5.0 server? No, there's the 4.1 server is all that's required to support the mobile 5.0 app. Okay. So that's it for our webinar. Please look for further emails or go to our Facebook page to see future planned webinars. And we hope to have these on a monthly basis. If you have any ideas or any recommendations on a particular subject area, please reach out to Michelle or I, and we'll try to get those on our agenda. Our hope is to keep these short and relevant to our current clients, as well as our consultants, as well as new prospective clients. So thanks for your attention, and have a great day. Thanks.